Yes, what's going on? It is Adam from Green Auto Services and welcome back to a new video. Today we have a 2013 Ford Focus with a 2-litre Duratec engine, and we are carrying out a full service replacing all of the general maintenance items. If you are enjoying the video, learned a little something, don't hesitate to drop me a like, comment, more importantly hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos. So with no hesitation, let's dive straight into it, and the first thing we're going to do is get the oil ready to get changed out. Okay, so here we are in the engine bay. So what I mean by getting the oil ready to drain out is that we want to make sure we get as much contaminants and as much oil out of the engine as possible. Now this is where advanced system cleaners can come in handy. What these are designed to do is clear out any sludge, any contaminants that's in the engine, ensure that it all drops down to the bottom of the engine easily so that when we drain it out, we drain out as much as possible. And what we're going to do, we are going to pour it straight into the engine where you would normally put engine oil, and we want to run the engine up to operating temperature for about 10 to 15 minutes. Once that's done, we can then have everything settled down and we can drain out the oil, ensuring that we get as much contaminants out of the engine as possible. So once you've found the right product, you want to come to your engine. Now you want to put the product straight in where you would put the engine oil. Now the engine oil filler cap is located here, right in the middle of the engine. So you just want to go ahead and unscrew that, get your oil cleaner and pour it straight in. Okay, once that's in, put the oil cap back on securely and then start the engine, run it up to temperature and then wait about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so it's now been about 15 minutes. Now the engine is nice and hot and the oil cleaner has had an opportunity to cycle around the entire engine and potentially clean out as much contaminants as possible. And you want to leave that to settle for maybe about another 10 minutes, maybe even 15, just to let all the oil now just start to go to the bottom of the sump, because that is where we're going to be draining everything out. So whilst we're waiting the next 10-15 minutes, I'm going to get the vehicle jacked up and onto axle stands, because unfortunately on a beautiful day like this where it's chucking it down with rain, I am now inside without a hoist. So on that note, bear with me, I'm going to get the car ready and then I'll see you underneath the vehicle. Okay, so now that I've got the vehicle jacked up and on axle stands, the first thing I'm going to do before going under is, one, remove the oil filler cap. This will allow air to go into the engine and allow everything to drain out a lot easier. And then also just get your dipstick, pop it up and just leave it. Okay, so here we are underneath the vehicle. Now, the first thing we're going to do is remove the oil filter, which very conveniently is located at the front of the engine. Is a metal spin-on filter, and that just unscrews and then drops off. We'll be then moving back to the engine, where here is the sump plug, which we're going to remove to drain all of the oil into a receptacle. Okay, so I've got myself a large drain pan here and a receptacle to put it in, because when you take the oil filter off, it will drip oil. Now I've got myself a pair of oil filter wrenches. There is actually a special tool that is a metal cup that perfectly goes onto the end of that so you don't damage the oil filter, but because we're going to be disposing of this oil filter, it doesn't matter if this gets a little damaged in the process. So with these grips, you literally just grab it and then undo it. Okay, so with the old oil filter removed, you want to compare it to the new one to make sure that it's correct. So if you haven't seen any of my previous videos before on oil filters and how to fit them, you just want to get yourself a bit of clean oil, and you just want to get a small amount and lubricate the seal around the oil filter so that when you screw it on, the oil filter slides on nicely and it doesn't grip it and kink it and compromise the seal. Okay, now I've just gone ahead and got myself a bit of fresh oil in the cap from the bottle, and then what I'm going to do, just get a little bit on the end of your finger and just put a small coat around the seal. Once you've done that, carry on and just screw it on by hand only until it gets up there. Now these oil filters are normally have a tightening torque of 25 Newton meters. Now because I don't have the special tool and my torque wrench to get this on perfectly, if you're doing it yourself, you can just do it by hand. So once you've threaded it on by hand and it's started to get finger tight, you just want to grab the oil filter and slowly turn it around a couple of turns until it starts resisting, and that should be absolutely fine. You don't need to go too crazy with these. That seal will be absolutely fine regardless of the temperature that the engine gets up to. So once that's on, we now need to go ahead and drain the oil, of which we're now going to go to the back of the engine, remove the sump plug and drain everything out into the receptacle. Okay, so now that we've replaced out the oil filter and cleaned it down, I'm now going to go ahead and remove the sump plug, which is located at the back of the engine at its lowest point. Now this is a 15mm sump plug socket, and you just need to crack it off. It shouldn't be too tight, and then drain all the oil as much as you can into a container. Okay, so that's now starting to slow down. We're going to leave that for the next 5 or 10 minutes to drain out as much as possible. Once the majority's out, we can put the sump plug back in, nip it up, and then we can go back up top and get it filled with oil. Okay, now it's been about 15-20 minutes and I've really given this enough time to drain out. We want to make sure that we make the most of the fact that we've put the oil cleaner in the engine. So hopefully that has removed as much as possible that we can physically do. So from here onwards, I'm now going to take the sump plug, replace the rubber washer, and that's the rubber washer there. I'm just going to pop that one out and put a new one in. Just make sure you've got the right washer to replace it with. Once you've taken that one off, put a new one on, you can then go ahead and just screw it back into the sump. Okay, now these sump plugs have a tightening torque of 23 Newton meters. Now again, unfortunately I don't have my torque wrench on me, but I've just wound that in by hand, and now I'm just going to very gently nip it up. There we are. And there we go. I'm just going to give that a clean down now. As you can probably see in the background here, I do actually have a small oil leak. This is actually coming from the rear main seal, which is between the engine and the transmission. And I'll make another video in the future, which will be me removing the transmission to access the rear main seal to replace. Okay, now that that is tight and cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and fit the under tray back on. I'll see you back up in the engine bay. Okay, so here we are back in the engine bay. Now we need to fill the engine with fresh oil. In this instance, I'm using a fully synthetic 5W30 engine oil, which is recommended by Ford, and the filling capacity once you've drained it is 4.3 litres. Now, on top of putting fresh engine oil in, we will also be using what's called an advanced oil guard. So what the advanced oil guard is going to do is it's going to ensure optimum lubrication and protection to help prolong the engine life. So what we're going to do, we're going to put in the 4.3 litres that the engine needs, and then we're going to put this oil guard in afterwards, start up the engine and get it run around the entire system. Once it's got warm, we're then going to let the engine oil settle down, and then we're going to have a look at the dipstick and make sure that it's on maximum level. Okay, so just to quickly show you the dipstick. As you can see here, we have not only a couple of holes to represent minimum and maximum, but we also have a kind of a cross hatch hatchet area as well, but only on one side. Now the lower hole does represent minimum, the upper hole does represent maximum, but you actually want to fill the oil level to the top of the cross hatchet area. Now I don't actually know the 100% reason. I presume the gap between the top of the cross hatchet area and the top maximum mark is to allow for oil expansion when everything gets hot. So I would recommend to fill it up to the top of the cross hatchet section, and you'll be absolutely fine. So let's quickly dip that now and see what we've got. Okay, so there we are. It's very difficult to get you focused. Although one side looks like it's completely overfilled, this is normal. If you flip it over, you do actually have a bit of a gap just before the maximum mark, which is actually your true level. Dip it a couple of times, you'll see exactly what I mean, but you'll have to take my word for it in this respect. The level on this one is just a fraction over the top of the cross hatchet section. But as far as I'm concerned, that is absolutely fine. I've always filled it up between those, and I've never had an issue with any vehicles in the past. So now that's the oil level done, we can move on to the next item. Okay, so when replacing your air filter, your filter is located just to the right hand side of your engine bay, just here in front of your battery. Now the top of the air filter just comes off. It's held in by 4 screws, which are 7mm screws located in each corner of the lid. Okay, once the lid has been removed, just go to the far right hand side and just pull straight up and out. Now that is your air filter, and we're obviously, it's not looking too bad. It actually looks like it's been fitted within the last year, but I've not had this vehicle for a year, but regardless, we are still going to change it out. Okay, so here is my new air filter. Now I did go to Ford directly, so this is a genuine air filter. Now when fitting this, it can be a little bit tight to get in. You'll have the rubber side which goes in to the intake, then on the back side of it, it's a solid plastic back, but I want to draw your attention to the edge. Now the edge does stick up a few mil. Now this is important because it's actually going to locate specifically in a recess in the back of the actual airbox. Now this is why I've given you a little bit of light. There is a channel here which the end of the air filter sits perfectly into. Once it's sat perfectly into that, the actual top of the box will go back on, and the rest of the filter and will sit perfectly in this recess here. So let's go ahead and put that in now. I'll get you back on the stand. So again, like I said, the rubber seal side goes in towards the engine first. It is a little bit of a fiddle, but do not be afraid to be a little forceful with it, because actually from experience, it's the only way you're going to get it in. Okay, there we are. Now I'm going to shed some light on the situation because I'm just going to show you. You can probably see on the end there, there's almost like 2 little ears that will actually help guide the end of the plastic ridge down into its groove. It is a little bit tight. Do not be afraid to push on it. Once you get it inside those tabs at the bottom there, that will locate perfectly into the airbox. Okay, and that is your air filter all done. Since we're here in the engine bay, we're now going to move on to the next maintenance item, which are the spark plugs. Okay, so when it comes to replacing your spark plugs, the first thing we need to do is to remove the engine cover. Now, the engine cover is secured by a 10mm nut, which is located just in this hole here. So with a deep 10mm socket, once that's undone, you then just need to pop it off from the rubber dowels in each corner. Oh, that isn't good. So just to let you know, the actual 10mm nut in the middle of the engine cover here, it's actually seized onto the stud. Now underneath it, the stud has actually completely come out of the rocker cover there. Now don't panic, nothing's broken. It's just all we need to do is get some sort of grip or spanner on the nut, which is a part of the stud, so we can hold that and then get that 10mm off, and then we can put the stud back into the rocker cover valve. Okay, so there we are, that's the stud. So just off camera, that is the stud that goes through the engine cover, and then this sleeve that the actual stud does not come out of locates inside the rocker cover. We're going to put that back in, don't panic. What I did, I had to get an 8mm spanner just to get on this bottom nut here to hold the stud, and then got my battery gun to buzz off the 10mm nut which was on the top part of the thread. So don't panic if this happens to you. It is actually quite easy to get off. Take your time and it will come out absolutely fine. So what we'll do from here onwards, we will literally just put this straight back into the rocker cover. The only thing to warn you about, if this does happen to you, and you will know if it does, there is actually a part of the wiring loom, a plastic mount that is designed to go around that to hold the loom. Now that doesn't come off because it's wrapped around it. I did have to just slightly cut the plastic on one side to be able to get the loom off to then remove the complete engine cover. But anyway, moving on, with the engine cover off, it now exposes the coil packs which are connected to the spark plugs. These are your coil packs here. We've got cylinder 1 coil pack, cylinder 2, cylinder 3 and cylinder 4. Now we need to disconnect the multi-plugs that connect each coil and then remove the 8mm bolt that holds each coil down onto the spark plug. Now before I remove these, I'm going to show you that each one of these multi-plugs that go onto the coil packs, they have a red security tag. So what you need to do is actually get that security tag and pull it backwards. That will then allow you to push down the tab on the connector and pull it off the plug. So I just, you can normally get a small little pick and pull it back. I don't have a pick on me, but if you just go to the red tab at the front and almost lift it up and push it, that will then give you enough space to get on top of that, pull it backwards, and then this black tab at the back, if you push that down, and the plug will come straight off. So do that to all 4 of them, and then we can go ahead and remove the 8mm to get all 4 of the coil packs out. So just to let you know, before removing them, always keep the coil packs in order so that you don't mix anything around. Okay, so once the coil packs are removed, I just normally put them up on the scuttle panel there in order. It will now reveal the spark plugs that are down in the recess of that spark plug for cylinder number 1, cylinder number 2, cylinder 3, and of course cylinder 4. Now everything looks nice and clean in there, there's no oil, so that means the rocker cover is intact and not leaking. So now we just need to get a spark plug socket, which is a 16mm socket with a rubber insert, down on each one to crack them off. Okay, so here are the spark plugs that I've just removed. So cylinders 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now at face value they don't look too bad, but they definitely are going to be replaced. The electrical nodes all look pretty good. There's no significant damage. There's a little bit of carbon buildup, particularly on cylinder 1. But as you can see here, this browning at the base of the spark plugs, this is actually where the pressure in the combustion chambers eventually is minorly pushing combustion gas past the seals of the spark plugs and out. You'll never notice that though. This is normal after a certain period of time. This is why we're changing the mounts. And the good thing is there's no significant damage, no oil, no coolant that I can see, just a bit more of a carbon build-up on cylinder 1. I'm going to get these swapped out, compare them to the new ones and get them in the engine. Okay, so here is one of the new spark plugs compared to cylinder 1 spark plug that we've pulled out. Now you want to go ahead and compare them. Now these are absolutely identical, so I've got no issues fitting these, but you can now see the significant difference from a worn one compared to a new one. Now make a note, at the base of these spark plugs there is no crushable washer. This small shoulder here, as soon as that hits the cylinder head, that's when it's going to start start to get tight. So let's put these in by hand now, screw them up by hand, and then get them to the right torque setting. Okay, now as you can see, I've just put the spark plugs back in, tightened them up by hand only until they bottomed out, and then I've tightened them up only using the ratchet. Now, I don't have a torque wrench on me, but I know for a fact that these spark plugs are tightened to 15 Newton meters, so it's not a lot at all. So what I normally do is I just use the wrench, just wait for it to grip, and then give it a little nip up, and that'll be absolutely fine. I've done that to all four, and now I'm going to get the coil packs all back on and hooked up. Okay, so now that the spark plugs are in, the coil packs are in, and the wiring harness is connected up to the individual coil packs, we're now going to go ahead and get the engine cover on. Now, if you remember from earlier, this is the stud that came out of the valve cover. Now the good news is it does just screw in at the bottom into the cylinder head. Now there are tightening torques for these. This will be 10 Newton meters, so you're going to have to get yourself a deep 8mm socket to then slowly screw that and this metal sleeve into the plastic housing. Okay, once that is all back together, we just want to now go into the vehicle, start her up, and make sure that the engine is running smoothly and that we've installed the spark plugs and the coil packs correctly. Okay, so the engine started up absolutely fine and the engine seems to be running nice and smooth. So we are now done up here in the engine bay and we need to shut it down. So as far as maintenance items are concerned, we've done the oil change, we've done the air filter change, and we've done the spark plug change. So now that we can shut this down, we can then go on to replace the last maintenance item, which is inside the car, which is the cabin filter. Okay, here we are on the home straight. So this is the passenger side of the vehicle. We're going to go down into the passenger footwell, and the actual cabin filter is located in a housing right there. Now what I'm showing you is the door to the housing itself. If there's any carpets in here at all, take them out. You want to give yourself some space. Move the seat all the way back because it can be a little bit crowded down here. There is a fabric cover which covers the fuse box and the BCM. Now it's held in place by two plastic tabs. You just want to push the wings together and pull them off. If you want to, you can unscrew them. They're just screwed on there, and then this filter or fabric cover just comes down and comes straight off. Now the reason why we're taking this off is because it allows you to get to the door of the cabin filter, which is just over here. You have one tab here and one just at the back there. You want to squeeze them together and pull the door towards you or away from the actual cabin filter housing. Now there is a tab at the bottom here which does get stuck. It's fiddly, but it will come out. Just take your time. There it just pops out and the door comes out like that. There we are. This just goes to show that it's a good idea to maintain vehicles that you haven't had for long, because believe it or not, there is not a cabin filter in there, and there's supposed to be one. So so if there is one in there, you just want to pull it out. It's only made of a light fabric. It bends just as easy as paper. You just want to pull it out. Watch for the BCM and the fuse boxes there, but it does give you enough space. And then you just want to compare it to the new one to make sure it's okay, and then fit the new one in reverse order. Okay, and because I was conveniently at Ford, I got a genuine filter. Now, if you remember, or if you have seen fitting cabin filters from previous videos, you'll know that the cabin filters have a specific airflow of direction, or direction of airflow even. So if you look on the side of the cabin filter, you can see you've got airflow and a couple of arrows pointing this way. So in this respect, the air wants to flow through that side and out of this. Now the rule of thumb is that airflow will always flow towards the cabin. So in this respect, we want the cabin filter to sit in this way. So the air is going to come through this way towards the center of the cabin. Okay, this is going to take a little bit of finesse, getting in the way of the camera. Okay, excellent. Okay, and just up there, you can see the cabin filter on the end there, and that is exactly how it's meant to go in there. So from here onwards, you now just need to put the cover back on. And when it comes to the cover, this is your cover. That is how it's orientated. There are two tabs at the top. There's a little tab there which locates, or sorry, should I say, there's a recess in the top of that bit of plastic which locates on a tab at the top of the box. And then you'll know when it sits in because it will sit in perfectly, and you'll just know when it sits in. It is a little bit fiddly, again, because for a maintenance item it's always good to be made that little bit difficult, thanks Ford, but play around with it, it will go in eventually. Oh, and just like that, it's in. So the top went in first, squeeze the bottom in, and then make sure these two ears locate behind the plastic on the housing there. Just give it a little pull, make sure it doesn't come off, and that is how you fit your cabin filter. So from here onwards, we are now just going to put the fabric cover back underneath the footwell here, and then we are all done. Okay, and there we are all done for the day. Now, just to let you know, on these Ford Focuses, there are no service lights, so you won't get a reminder saying it needs a service now. If you do, all you need to do is turn the ignition on, press the accelerator and the brake pedal simultaneously at the same time for at least 30 seconds, and that should reset the system. So on that note, if you've enjoyed what you've watched, learned a little something, or perhaps saved yourself some money because you've managed to do it yourself now, by all means, drop me a like, comment, more importantly, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more videos coming down the line as usual. So thanks again. I am Adam from Green Auto Services, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Just to let all the oil now. Now when you're doing an oil change, the end, once you've drained the oil, it takes a capacity of 4. Now when you're putting fresh oil into an engine, drilled by now. So on that bombshell, I am going to get everything. Why am I quoting Top Gear?